I know it's
I've never done that. No.
My mom's college roommate was from Punxsutawney.
There you
go.
We went and saw it one time. I remember that.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
funny.
But it's interesting because it's like, hey, a magic rat, you know?
The gobbler's knob is the second is the
Yeah, it's Punxsutawney. Yeah, because it's
Gobbler's knob
Punxsutawney.
is the
It's
pseudo
Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney. He's the one in Maine, I think. Is the guy. There's one other.
This one is
Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney.
Yeah.
He's like the guy.
Are we in?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Green Room. And in honor of Groundhog's Day, we're right back with DeSantis again as the main topic.
Yeah, well, the topic is the free state of Florida, and what the heck does that mean? But listen, before we get into the green room, I gotta slow down for a second to give a big shout out to my Ohio family up in Alliance. My last 13 years in the ER. My little brother, Dr. Jason Kolb, had a horrible skiing accident out in Denver. And listen, when I see, and I'm 67 at this point, I don't think I'll ever ski again. But if I do, I'm going to be on one of those green circle hills with a grade of about the Bunny Hill. Bunny Hill guy.
No.
And I do have some friends that are still longtime skiers and they're still very active in their 60s. And Jason wasn't there, but no, he has no feeling below the waist, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. 9 cracked ribs and a sternum and a clavicle fracture. So I want to send out the best of thoughts and very prayerful community up there with Jason and his family. So
a lot of those kind of accidents. Last week it was Stubby. This week it's your friend. I mean, people are crashing and banging around.
Well, that's trauma. That's trauma, and trauma will always exist. And in the old days, we used to say it'd be the stone or the cave, rolling and coming down, things hitting you, dinosaur encounters, whatever it may be. But now 2023 offers its own unique era in a lot of different ways. And let's just roll right into it. So what's going on in Florida right now, everybody, is unbelievable. And I know it's getting some degree of national.
It's national. Today, actually, CNN had it nationally this morning. It's a huge topic.
Well, it started literally not this year, but last year, probably the year before, maybe even earlier. But there's an inclusionism, I like to say, that you and I live by.
Yeah.
And it's love everybody you can and try to lift everybody up that you can. And for the life of me, why is anybody against anybody who's trans?
Diversity, equity.
No, but I just get down to the basics. If you're putting the earth in a confused manner, so to speak, and I'm not a psychiatrist and I haven't really participated in, trans people transitioning and things of that nature. But my point is, if your inner being is such, and you need inclusionism, you need people to love you, you need people to assist you
feeling isolated
and how you feel and to talk it out. Who hates and why? I just want to know, why is he focused on such a small portion of our society? And you have to see what's going on in New College now.
New College is a whole. Well,
no, but it's a liberal.
But we have several DeSantis issues.
We do. Well, one is, we want to go open carry.
But
with no permit or no training.
The schools. So yesterday, I don't know if yesterday the school board of Florida again revised what DeSantis put out as his new bill for guidelines for schools, and that was to erase topics such as being Black and queer as part of their history. Like he said, that's not, and he gave a speech and he said that's not.
I watched his speech and I watched his news conference. He admits that most people feel the other way, that in general society wants, and listen, I want to be as woke as I possibly can. I don't really know the meaning of the term, quite frankly, but 2023 society where you've heard I'm going to be 67 this year.
You just already mentioned it once. This is the second time now. It's in 5 minutes.
But you would like to think in that period of time, that we grow and we get better and we become more inclusionist. And I shake my head at. And Governor DeSantis went to Yale. It's not like he hasn't been around.
He went to a liberal school. He went to Harvard and Yale, both very liberal institutions.
And you speak to this of what you know, to the extent of him and many people also in government right now, as being in their mind, true
They're
crusaders.
crusaders, they are, and in their mind, we have.
And that's
a group of
shield with
them,
the big X on the front, guys.
Red Cross on the front.
Templar, we can get a horse
It
and
is
all
the
that,
fact
you
the
know.
Templars are coming back,
It's
and
really scary.
he wants to look at New College. Let's talk about New College, because I have a bunch of friends. Mecca, she's a college professor there. Uzi Barum, he's a professor there. I know like at least 5 people actually that are professors at New College, and it was always a very liberal school. They took pride in the fact that they wanted kids that were open-minded. They got to express themselves. It didn't matter who, what they were. Well, the op-ed on that was that it's not true that it's an inclusionist school. They were saying you're brainwashing the kids to think in a woke manner. This is a liberal school. It was a unique school, and the parents who sent their children there were so happy that they could give that to their children. And now DeSantis rips apart the board, throws out the president of the college, and replaces them with his little minions.
Well, Richard Corcoran.
Corcoran,
Okay,
yeah.
well known from State House days. And
Yes, and so here he is putting in his population, and then sending New College, because now he wants to quote unquote Christianize it, I think, in his mind.
because in his mind, it's publicly funded.
Yeah, it's
So
publicly
if state
funded.
dollars are going to go there, then they should represent what his view is.
Not what the kids were or what the professors were.
It's the majority of the population, quite frankly. That's what's so crazy about it.
Interesting op-ed. I don't know if you saw it.
I follow the will of the people, and you know.
Well, this guy, he wrote an op-ed yesterday in the Herald Tribune as a rebuttal to the woke people who are so upset over New College changing. And he said his stance was, well, you're wanting to be inclusionist, so include the Republican conservative group. Well, do you know how many colleges and universities there are with that school of thought? Go there. You have an option to choose a school that you want to go to. As parents, you want to send your children, you want to send them to a Catholic school, send them to Boston College. You know what I mean? Go to a Jesuit school.
Or Hillsdale
Or
College,
Hillsdale.
which is what he has admitted he's trying to turn New College into.
And sending them $10 million to Hillsdale. Why did they give you college that? How is that not socialism? Good call.
But
Tom.
you talk about indoctrination, and
Indoctrination.
well, you know, and to think that a 3rd grade teacher in the state of Florida at this point can't have her own in-room library, that she's comfortable with handing out the books to her students to take home at night and get the joy of reading and this and that.
Race theory. I guess it's like an odd thing. I mean,
You know, I heard somebody describe exactly what critical race theory is, and I'll be honest with you, I just don't get it, because who in this country doesn't want to live in peace with their neighbor? Isn't it as simple as that? You know,
but the critical race theory basically is wiping out a lot of history. And so are you cherry picking your history? So you don't want to admit that Black people in America get beaten up daily?
listen, it kind of go, well, listen, what we witnessed last week in Memphis.
And every other week and every other day in this country. It's to the point of, when is it going to end? It's not even shocking anymore. And it's not even, so it should be outrageous every day. And people in Europe, they're like, what is your country?
No, it's innately depressing. It's absolutely innately depressing.
They're mental over there.
Let's roll into open carry, okay? And open, and I don't, is it open? What is it? It's you're allowed to possess a gun with no training or safety training, and I guess possess it on your person at all times.
Yeah, because
is that open? Is it concealed?
It's open. Open carry means you can carry it on your belt.
But how about if it is concealed?
Well,
Do you still have to have a concealed carry license to do
if it's
that?
open carry, what do you care? It doesn't matter anymore.
If you look at the Twitter feeds of the Republican leaders in the state of Florida, this is an unbelievable freedom issue for them. It scares the shit out of most of us, everybody. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm an emergency physician, and I've said this for years. I guess if people are going to have guns, I'd rather it be open carry than concealed, because this way I can see who the hell's got one.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they got one, I'm going to cross to the other side of the street. I'm going to wait for them to pull out with their car before I even go there. To think that God forbid I nick their door or something like that.
But
No, it's crazy. Society is crazy these days.
ask you, in all honesty, we live in our society here. We live in a large state. I came from Boston, a big city. Is there truly a need to carry a gun?
No, some people
What
for
the
people that live in a certain world of fear.
Why? Okay, but you have to question, why do they live in that world of fear that they need to carry a gun on their person all the time? Really? Are you feeling
Because
that
people are-
by society? You're going to be
people are-
attacked every second
People
of
are
the day. I mean, come on.
overwhelmed with images these days, okay, in a
Oh.
way that we were not overwhelmed in before. That's a simplistic answer. Believe me, there's a hell of a lot more layers than that.
Well, how come every other Western civilized society doesn't have guns? They have gun control and they're living peacefully and they don't have shootings every other day. Maybe we should take a look at that as a society in America and say, how come Australia doesn't have a shooting issue? Why doesn't Canada have an issue? Why doesn't England have an issue? You name it. Why doesn't even countries in Africa and the Arab world have issues with guns? Because they don't allow them. And it's like here, okay, well, there's a kid shot, what, every 30 minutes, if not more. There's a problem with our society. And this fact of like carrying a gun, most of us live in a safe environment. If you're really that threatened, okay, maybe if you live in the hood somewhere or like some drug zone, like in Miami, maybe. But
See, but
come on.
what happens with all that is that it's kind of a
Crazy.
perpetuating image. And it's like the Scorpion or whatever the hell they called them squad up in Memphis, literally driving around, quote unquote, those type of neighborhoods, okay, assuming that there's going to be something going on in somebody's car, somebody's going to possess something, this, that, whatever.
Shootings in the south side of Chicago
There are.
all the time. Okay, so
The answer's not more guns,
it's not more guns, and the average person is going to avoid that area anyway. So like, okay, you want to protect your house. I'm all for it. I have a gun in my home. I openly say I do. I have more than one gun in my home. It's in my home. It's locked. Granted, if somebody were to break in, when I actually took the course to learn how to fire and hold a gun properly and store it properly, the trainer said, he goes, you're going to excuse my language, you're going to crap yourself. By the time somebody breaks into your house, you're not even going to get to your gun and you're going to be so scared that you won't even think to get the gun. So it's actually, they said, you're going to be basically better off with the baseball bat. That is per the trainer of concealed weapons that I took the course in Florida.
It takes a license.
Come on. Yeah.
Okay. You can't
You can't just get it and go.
And for a boat and even a motorcycle, for anything. So to me, where the gun, listen, the answer is because there was a gun lobby that had trillions,
The NRA, come on, like I mean,
billions,
and
trillions, who
billions.
knows, of dollars and a number of years, okay, to push their poison, which to me is listen, an AR, an assault rifle. What the hell do we need that for in average normal society these days?
Well,
Okay.
You don't.
You don't. I
You
mean, there's
really
no
don't.
legitimate
There's no-
argument for it, and believe me, I'm sure there's some people on here that are sitting there with their heads blown off. Oh, I got all the right to own this,
You
that,
do.
whatever,
Knock yourself. I don't, like I said, I really don't have an issue with people owning a gun. I really don't. But take a course, store it. How many kids every year get killed by a parent either misfiring or the kid getting into accessing a gun and shooting themselves or shooting someone else? Just be careful and use caution. But to have open carry, like I feel like they think we're in the wild west.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
it's
what
really-
the fear is. So,
I'm pro-life. Okay, so being pro-life and carrying a weapon is just such an oxymoron to me that I can't even explain it. So, okay, well, I'm pro-life and I have a gun. So the gun's going to be used to shoot someone and kill them, obviously. And so I just don't get it. And this agenda that's on our scope right now in Florida scares me that if DeSantis gets national and gets the presidency, this will happen nationwide. And what we're going to see is a brand new day in America with red crosses all over every state. And that frightens me because this country should not have that basis. It was supposed to be.
Well, never
separate.
has,
It never
you know.
has. And this is
But
like
everything's different in 2023, and not to circle everything back to cannabis, but it is the green room. But the point is, that's why we focus on where we're at as a society today, and that's what fascinates me and frustrates me and gets me so angry that these years where we should have been getting better
at
or we
the
should have been
exam.
getting better.
Usually you want to improve something. And
God, I don't get it.
again, like, I think that between, like, DeSantis saying he thinks that somebody has an agenda at New College versus his agenda. Well, he has an agenda.
Well, he wants
So,
to set
like,
the agenda.
yeah,
He wants to set the
exactly.
agenda of teaching and indoctrinating,
Indoctrinating.
quite frankly, students.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I think that the and to me, it's the demolition of the public school system in Florida is just astounding.
It's awful.
With charter schools and
Yeah.
this, that, and
Well,
whatever.
And it's so funny when you hear the school boards here in Florida, they're like, oh, well, we're so good. No, you're not. Most kids, when they come out of state, they're like, what the heck? They're like 5 grades ahead of Florida, being from the north. So you can't tout that you're so amazing, because you're not. And it's like, and that's a fact. And we rank 48th normally out of 50 states. We're not number 1 or 2. And so why don't we take a lesson from number 1 and 2, which tends to be liberal states. It tends to be the Boston, the Massachusetts, the California that has the better education, the Connecticut's, the New York.
and as we head into legislative season, everybody, and listen, we were supposed to have a guest today. Sometimes we swing for the fences and we think we have a guest, but we didn't get our guest, but we're going to get this guest back. My point is we need to know what's going on in Tallahassee to the extent of, is there any kind of game plan on the progressive side? Because
such a minority.
it's a super majority in the Senate and the House.
That's why.
And the governor's office. And just from the cannabis side, I'll be honest with you. My fear is that we're going to be sucked into the culture wars, okay, in Tallahassee, as Derek Ham, our friend, said, at the plaza level.
At the plaza level.
Right. And we're going to get sucked into that vortex. And bad things can happen. Everybody needs to remember that it was only Senator Jeff Brandes, who's been termed out, okay, 3 years ago during the 10% THC cap flower battle, which passed the House, okay? He wouldn't hear it in the Senate committees. He told him he wouldn't hear it in the Senate committees, and it died. But there's no Jeff Brandes up there now.
Yeah. And there's a super conservative crowd up there. And
a very conservative speaker.
Yes.
He's never had a glass of alcohol in his life,
so you're
apparently,
talking,
from what I understand.
so you're talking, it's going to be, it's a new day.
That's why we need to focus on cannabis medicine, everybody, because if they look at it as recreational right now, before recreational has been voted in by the people, or they won't move on it, right? Some people still think, Ruta, that the legislature is going to try to supersede the people's vote.
Oh, and they probably will.
I don't know. I don't think so, because
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, it depends if they want to put together a program that's unbelievably restrictive and highly taxed and things of that nature, and doesn't include any social equity programs.
Well, of course, the social equity, and they won't. And you were talking about the NRA, and we can talk about cannabis as well, because both of them are really tied into each other. Why are they existing they criminalize marijuana so that they can still incarcerate a lot of the population. Same with
prison industrial complex, of course.
Prison complex, it's privately owned, it's a money-making machine. So the NRA, marijuana possessions in small quantities still in the state are, subject to prison time. And it's a system. And I think they like that system. And I don't think they want to break that system. So I don't know. I don't see this legislative session going well for cannabis. I really don't.
Oh, I want to leave us alone, quite frankly.
I wish they would just.
Everybody.
The AIDS and things we need to.
For sure. That's why it's complicated, but they won't allow us in to the discussion. Although, listen, we get into the offices of some of the representatives, and Representative Buchanan knows he has an open invitation to come into the green room any day, any day he can and he wants to. We're going to be in his ear as we go forward. There has been one bill, but we can't get to the leadership. That's the point. And it's all designed on leadership. So Representative Roach and a few others, Salzman from the Panhandle, a couple other Republicans have presented a bring back telehealth for research, right, bill. There's a number to it in the Senate. I should probably have it, but and we'll post it somewhere. But it may be helpful, okay, everybody, to email your representatives,
Yes.
your senators, okay?
100%. And if you're truly a green person.
Because this is the time to
This
do
is the
it.
time to do it, because, and I even think.
It doesn't cost any money to send an email.
I was thinking about Roach, and I
I'm gonna
bet
get the
you,
bill number.
I think Roach, I have a feeling his constituents probably called him a lot of times, because for him to introduce this where he was so anti-cannabis, all of a sudden he's Mr. Pro telehealth, which is great for us, but somehow I think his constituents got in his ear, and perhaps he may lose votes if he's anti-cannabis. And if you look at 800,000 votes in Florida, which is how many people hold cards, 800,000 people is a pretty big chunk of a voting block. So if we actually united under that umbrella of greenness, we should have a big say. We really should. And it's a huge voting block, and it's a big voice.
So it's
almost a million
actually
people.
House Bill 387. And it's the physician certifications for the medical use of marijuana, right? And for recertification patients. And we're for it. Listen, in fact, we're so for it as physician group that we want to actually tighten it up a little bit. We want to make sure that it's only doctors that are in the same practice as what you've already been in,
Makes sense.
that has the available medical records to
Yeah.
review. We want to make sure the doctor's office is located here in Florida, okay, physically, so that we can get rid of some of these fly-by-nighters. We're very concerned that people have been operating outside of the telehealth law, okay, that may impact our ability to get this back. But for our patients, House Bill 387. I also want to say, as far as coming up to the legislative season, March 16th will be, and Ruta, I got to look at that day.
Yeah.
March 16th will be the official cannabis lobbying day up in Tallahassee this year. And, you know, it's so interesting, Ruta, just getting back to the general, so try to get there. So interesting when patients come down from the north, and even a lot of Florida people that have lived here forever, they don't know that the legislative session is only 2 months every year.
Yeah, they don't know.
And it's interesting because I think there's goods and bads to that. The goods are that we can focus on a certain period of time, okay, when we know that. So all they have to do in Tallahassee, everybody, is do a budget.
Yeah,
That's the only
their
thing-
biggest role.
that's the only thing that they're required to do
by law, yeah.
by law, by
Yeah,
constitutional, whatever it may be.
constitutional.
Anything else that gets done is completely at the whimsy, okay, of, in this state right now, the governor,
Mhm.
the leader, the president of the Senate, the speaker of the House,
Yeah, that's pretty
right?
much it.
It is, and it's
So,
leadership driven.
With this leadership, we have to get back to New College, because I know today I have
Please.
a lot of people listening, because I blurted out yesterday, we're going to talk about New College. And if anybody's listening, any of my professor friends from New College, please chime in. I'm on live on Facebook. Just ask your questions or make your statements. Uzi Baram, who's a archaeology professor at New College, and he's been teaching there 25 years, said it was probably one of the saddest moments when the president of the college gave her speech to say goodbye and offered, you know, a prayer for the future. And
This was coming, Ruta, or was this like
no,
from 2 weeks ago until like now?
It was shocking. It shocked the faculty. The faculty got, because Uzi actually, and I think Mecca, they posted on their Facebook page about 2-3 weeks ago. I don't want to be mistaken, but somewhere around there, because they posted it and I read it. It was a statement already coming out that there's going to be changes coming. They didn't know to what extent, and some of the faculty was already kind of like, what's going on here? But it really hit them upside the head. I don't think they expected such a radical change. I don't think they expected the board of directors to be totally changed and dismantled.
And just so interesting to go after the kindergarten through third grade crowd over here, and then to go after higher education over here.
No,
I
but
mean,
you think about it, you know, somebody just said we're in 1930s Germany right now with theme parks.
we are.
That's it. We just have the theme parks, but we are 1930s Germany. We're banning books. We're going to burn books soon. We're changing
And people have to remember 1930s Germany was the most progressive society of its time.
It was. And then look what happened. And we're in a really,
And to say it can't happen here.
it's
Look,
happening.
everybody.
Look,
Here
everybody.
it
It's
is.
happening. I mean, honestly, to
Here in
put it
Florida, the
it is
free
in
state
Florida.
of Florida,
Well,
right?
people-
Free for some things, not for others.
Girlfriend from she's a professor up at University of Maine. She Facebook texted me yesterday. And she said, she's like, oh my God, she goes, Ruta, I feel sorry for your state. She goes, "Right, it's gonna leave. They are gonna leave. They are, and they are, and actually, one of our staff members and one of her sons is a principal in a school. You can't get teachers, they're leaving. I mean, it's people are gonna leave this state. And I'm sorry, if you're an educator, most educators want to educate and they do want the
They don't
truth.
want to
And
indoctrinate,
indoctrinate.
educate.
Also,
okay?
and you're talking history.
But
How
listen,
can you
but listen,
whitewash history,
but-
and I no pun intended of whitewashing, but that's what we're doing.
but we're in an era where just yesterday, and I apologize for bringing it up, and it's fresh from this morning because I heard it on Morning Joe, but which I guess gives up my politics, but everybody knows my politics. But the point is Marjorie Taylor Greene and congressional committee saying that an elementary school in Illinois got $5.1 billion to do something with critical race theory or something like that. And she was quickly called out about it, but she's allowed to make these statements that are completely non-factual. Don, listen to this, the entire budget for Chicago City Schools, it's like not even that. It's like $4 billion or something like that. So she makes these statements that are completely unreasonable. They take root amongst the base, I guess is what they're called, you know.
No,
there used to be. Listen, now it's this.
That's your fact check.
Now it's this.
And it depends on what source you're going to use. So you can get anything, you can get whatever talking point is on your agenda. I mean, you want it your way, you'll listen to Fox. You want it this way. So where's the, you know,
It is. It's so
it's very dangerous times in the critical.
We need a mutual shared truth.
It is
If you really want to ratchet everything back, we need a mutual shared truth. And that is in general, in my opinion, I'm kind of a golden rule guy. I'm going to do unto others as others do unto me. I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt of being a good, quality, loving person until they show me otherwise.
Okay,
That's just the way I look at the world. But these don't. They don't. They look at the opposite.
But we have to teach, we can't look through rosy colored glasses. I mean, our history of America is not rosy colored.
No doubt.
We discriminated, we kicked out the Indians. We actually, there are so many stories now. And what's that guy?
Listen
I
up,
can't think
in
of his name.
1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Oh my God.
So we were all indoctrinated in a Western European educational society that, you know.
There's right now, there's a bunch of movies out and Kevin Costner's show that Yellowstone is one that also is showing the truth about what happened. The Catholic Church came and then what they did to boys and girls of like who are in American Indian between the raping of them and the total abuse and the mass murders. There are mass graves of Indian children that quote unquote didn't become Christianized enough for our society that were thrown into mass graves. So, okay, is that critical race theory that we're teaching our children history that we weren't so good? We weren't, and you want your children not to be like that. To
learn the lessons of history.
Exactly, learn the lessons of history.
God,
For us to say like, oh, you know, we can't claim that whites, you know, the whites were superior to the blacks. I'm sorry, our history proved that we thought that it was wrong, but our history had to fight back against that. It's part of history. You have to teach that.
And listen, the white supremacy, and that's what's so crazy right now is that we know where the threat right now to our democracy is coming from. And it's not coming from offshore.
It's not. It's coming. It's domestically grown. It's domestic. It has an agenda. It has a very Christian agenda, a very religious based agenda. And that frightens it really, it's 1930s Germany all over again. And we have to stand up for the kids at New College.
What's the next step up there? I mean, what?
I think, well, you know what's going to happen?
Students leave.
Students are going to
go to Oberlin.
You're going to have a mass exodus of students.
Because there's only 700 students at the college.
It's a small college, but the parents who are there, and I have friends who have kids there, they were in tears, literally in tears, because their children felt like they had a place to go where they weren't afraid to be themselves. And now all of a sudden somebody's coming in and saying the way you think is not right, the way you look is not right, the way you act is not right.
Yeah.
And no inclusion.
No diversity, no
diversity,
empowerment, no
empowerment.
diversity.
It's terrible.
It-
So honestly,
Who doesn't want inclusionism? I just don't get it.
the professors, you guys listening, I know you are today, for all of the new college professors, prayers go out to you guys.
No, you gotta
literally.
believe there's more of us that believe in goodness
But
and
the problem is,
inclusion and
what
love.
do you do when you have a board now that is sitting
Ugh.
there that is going to change how you teach, what you do, and restrain all of these professors? It's
Yes.
ridiculous. It's
Ain't gonna work.
it won't work. It's not. Thank God our system is strong enough, I think, that we're going to overcome this. So just bear and grunt it, and we'll get over this hump and keep fighting the good fight. I know it was a huge turnout at New College.
Oh, yeah.
To show, absolute disgust. And it wasn't just New College professors and New College students. It was everybody with higher education that wanted to say like no to this ridiculousness, because one domino is going to cause another domino to go. So who's next on DeSantis's agenda? I mean, he's going to be like through the state. So anyways, fight the good fight. We're out of time.
I know, how can that be?
I know, and this is such a awful subject today. Like, it's so passionate because it's so ridiculous. And honestly, I hope we don't have to repeat Groundhog's Day again, where we're going to talk about DeSantis doing something again to education.
And listen, what we can do is within our own personal space, try to be the best people that we can be and influence those,
and teach
close to
the
us.
truth, and teach your children the truth.
Right. And we in the clinic because we see patients every day, and I get to focus on that and our small little contribution, to Florida's mildly counterculture medical cannabis experience, but we need everybody pulling on this rope right now.
We do,
and paying attention.
Pay attention and be yourselves and love whoever you love and be whatever you are. And just, I can't. It just makes me so upset that somebody's telling somebody what to do and how to do it and what to be and what not to be and how to act and how to think.
Accusing others of being
Accusing
the
others.
indoctrinators.
Yes, it's crazy. It doesn't make sense. So anyways, that's our soapbox.
Yeah,
for
we're
the
gonna go.
week.
Well, we're gonna go see patients. Don't
I'm
feel
gonna
good.
go do some interviews.
Listen, let me say too, we're doing surveys on our patients,
Oh,
and we're
this
really, and we're it's coming up and some special guests
yes.
that are going to talk about what research we have going on. So
Yeah.
that's just up for the next. And we will see you next week.